Boom. And we're live.
2 days in a row.
2 days in a row. That's called a streak.
Did it? Oh, shoot. How did this?
2 days in a row, but it's still our first day.
No, it's because I was watching sailing videos at 2:30 in the morning and had to have the sound up on the tablet.
Hey, nobody's going to fault you for watching sailing videos.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody out there in Big Fat Land. It's the Big Fat Podcast. Switch over there. Cole was waving.
I was waving, but I didn't say anything, so it didn't switch over.
But yeah, so Cole, how's your day been going? We kind of run into each other off and on today.
We did.
What'd you do today?
Went to the gym and worked out, lifted heavy weights.
I did not.
And then I did cardio, which sucks. I hate cardio, dude.
Oh, who doesn't?
So I did half of a 5K today with intervals, 200 at a fast walk, 200 a sprint after lifting heavy weights. If Kelly, who's not going to talk, but is sitting next to me, would have been there, he probably would have lifted heavier weights than me anyway. But
do you still do the tire flipping thing out on the road?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I saw a video the other day I wanted to send to you because the guy was doing that and he was working out. He's at this place and his buddy stopped him and he was like, hey, man. And he just stopped him, There was no sound, actually. It was just music. But anyway, he lifted that tire up and then he just turned it and then just showed him he could roll it. Anyway, I thought of you and I almost sent that to you. Like, dude, did you know you could just do this?
Just roll the tire.
You don't have to flip this huge tractor tire down the street.
What's our heaviest tire? 225, yeah.
275?
Yeah, it's a heavy tire.
Wow. Man. Well, I thought of you, man. So
if you're going for distance, you could do the roll, but you're doing for flips.
Oh, man. Are you doing it for flips? Are you counting flips? Is that what you guys are doing?
Flips. It's like a deadlift with a push in there is what you're going for. And then normally you're jumping through the tire itself and then doing it again or flipping back and forth over it.
Yeah, no, I didn't do anything productive like that today. I did do some fencing, though. I did some real Montana activities this morning because I had a couple lines break. We had a showing today I had to get ready for. Maybe I'm saying too much. Anyway, had these so it was one of these. I had one of these moments this morning. So I was standing out there and I was stretching fence and it was frosty still and I was like, this might be one of the last times I stretch fence in Montana. I thought of Shelby. I had warm fuzzy feelings about helping Shelby do fencing this last winter and fall. And so man, it was super nice out this morning. And then we rushed to town and I got a drone up in the air because today all over the country, as not just here, but all over the place, was the hands-off, whatever that was.
Save Democracy protest rally, anti-administration stuff today.
Yeah, I'm really kind of holding my judgment on it because we might be able to talk with somebody tomorrow here in studio. So, but it was interesting. We got here and we threw a drone up in the air because I just wanted to get some footage and I wanted to see what was going on over there. So,
yeah. And I actually went there and hung out with the protesters and took pictures. I did message the local newspaper and told them that I was going to do so. So they're going to use some of my photos in the paper in the next couple of weeks. But I went over there and visited with some people. There was probably 50, 60 people when I went over there. They had about half an hour left before they decided to quickly disperse. I was shocked about how quick everybody left. And apparently they were going to another town about an hour away. I
did think that was interesting.
Protest.
Yeah. All of a sudden it was just like, I was like, oh wait, we're done.
Yeah.
So that part was interesting, which also made sense because I saw somebody posted a video like a week or two ago about kind of a Tesla protest down in Texas. And the point they made was that, hey, everybody left at 12 p.m. on the dot. And they had video of just everybody like protesting at 1 minute and then like literally everybody just starts walking away.
Yeah.
And I was like,
pretty much what happened today.
Yeah.
Like I was in there taking pictures. I was taking pictures of some of the signs and stuff. There were some signs that, provoked a little bit of thought. There were some signs that I'm like, Y'all got no effing clue what you're even standing here for. And then I wanted to start to interview people. I had my stuff set up. I was going to interview some people so we could put some footage on one of the podcasts. And dude, they just like bounced. And then I found out that they were going to Red Lodge, which is about 40 minutes south of here, because that protest started like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
They were on a schedule. I honestly, I kind of liken it to a old time road show, like a group that comes through, puts on a quick little show, and then heads to the next town.
Hey,
And
Chris,
I saw.
welcome to the podcast, buddy.
I was going to call that out. You beat me to it. We got some regulars in there. That's Mr. Chris Mader, and there's our Mr. Dreamy, Shelby Burrows. Hello. Thank you. Shelby threw in a super chat last night.
He did.
At the end of the night, and I didn't see it, and I felt bad, and I was like, oh, wait.
Here's the cheers to Chris or to Shelby for the super chat. So
there you go. Hey, Shasta's in the house.
Hi.
There she is.
Bust in protesters.
Or they bust in protest.
no.
There wasn't a bus, but what kind of license plates were they for Stillwater County?
So I did see quite a few Yellowstone County plates. That would mean they're not local. They don't live here. I saw a couple of 40 county plates.
So this is fascinating to me because I didn't notice that anybody had a plate. Like, I don't even look at that.
Yeah. There were a few people that I recognized.
Were there any expired tags? Did you notice any?
I wasn't there as a cop. I was there as a photographer.
Okay. You had that part shut off. You're just like, I'm just observing tags or license plate numbers in counties.
As a journalist / photographer.
I see, but okay.
Yes.
That's amazing.
But it was one of the first things, because I look at that stuff all the time. It doesn't matter whether I'm working or not. I look at that stuff when we go to Billings. I look at that stuff when we go to Bozeman. I looked at that stuff when we spent the last week in Canada watching hockey. And you can never turn it off. But it was one of the first things I looked at is the cars that are in the area.
No, I'm impressed. I'm not bagging on you.
And a lot of them were not from the area. I did recognize a few. And I've been working here. I've lived here my entire life outside of, when I was stationed abroad for the military and stuff like that. And I've worked here every day for 17 years. I know people in the community. It's my job to know people. I recognized like a handful of people. The rest of them, I had no idea who they were.
That is super interesting.
And when you showed up, and we were visiting with some people there, and I have friends that were at the protest. I have friends. I have an in-law who we don't see eye to eye politically on anything, but I don't like her any less. It's just, that's her political viewpoint, and that's fine.
Right.
It is what it is. But even when we were there visiting, there were people loading up their signs and heading to Red Lodge. I mean, that quick.
Yeah, they were on a schedule.
Yeah.
And it took a minute for that to kind of sink in.
And that's what I'm hoping, if we do the podcast tomorrow with Devin, that we can dive into that, because I'm seriously interested in how much, so I was researching a little bit today before we did this, and there's like this huge question. Is this a grassroots, kind of like how the, you remember Kelly. For everybody that's here, we do have Kelly in studio, but he's not going to talk to us, apparently.
We're just pretending there's somebody named Kelly in the studio.
But we had the Tea Party rallies. Do you remember those? Probably 2012, 2011, somewhere in there at the courthouse. And there were like 400 people there. But
how long did they stay?
There was like a 2-hour rally.
Okay.
But then after the 2-hour rally was up, they didn't pack up and just head to the next town. They sat there and mingled and visited with each other. But it was a big deal at the courthouse, on the south side of the courthouse, and it was full. And they had 2 of the rallies for the Tea Party, which to me was a lot like libertarianism, is what the Tea Party kind of represented. A lot, and that's more where I am politically. I'm more libertarian than I am conservative or what you would call Republican. I mean, I agree with about 90% of this administration. There's 10% that I don't agree with at all. And I mean, I've been vocal about it. I mean, if anybody asks my opinion, I'll tell you. So, but I didn't see that in 2010, 2011, 2012 during the Obama stuff when the Tea Party was going. I didn't see people going from town to town to town for a rally. Whereas like today, as soon as like 1:45, 2 o'clock rolled around, they loaded up themselves and their signs and headed to Red Lodge. And they told me as much. So
Yeah.
is it really a grassroots? We're using our First Amendment rights to say how much we hate this current administration? Or is it we're getting paid, air quotes, to push this agenda that we really might not know what we're pushing?
Yeah, that was kind of my question too. I was just feeling more like, oh, that was just kind of a show that was put on and then they left. And I know that's probably not everybody, but that was kind of the feeling I had, or the sense I had of it was just that of like, okay, it's here. Like, here's a little demo, a little something put on at the park. Now let's run to the next town and put on a little free show.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really like, I don't know. It was different. I didn't feel grassroots about it. I didn't, and then when you find out they're all over the country, and then you see other things that people are claiming they're busing them into big areas and that, there's huge numbers here. But yet there was a lot of people posting footage of them busing people in. So
I was reading somewhere, there's like 2,000 plus protests today all over the nation.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's interesting.
So if this group of people went to 3 towns, that's 50 people. That's
yeah. But they can then get photos of like, hey, it happened in this town, see in this town, and then this town, and then it does give that illusion that, see, it's popping up everywhere. Oh, yeah, but if you look at those photos, you're probably seeing a lot of the same signs, a lot of the same people.
Yeah, and that's what I'm curious about as it all kind of filters.
Try not to be judgmental about it.
I'm not being judgmental, but
me either. I'm saying, but these are pretty glaringly like things to question about.
And I think it's a legitimate question to ask, because so then if you were quote unquote taking statistics on who's anti-Trump administration 2024, 2025 for the next 4 years, so you're going to have a skewed statistic, because just like Kelly said, if you have 50 to 70 people that go to 3 towns within a 6-hour period, now you're saying, well, there was a minimum of 150 people in these 3 small communities, when in reality there might have been 15 per community, and then the rest of them were wherever
transplants,
they were from.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
So it's super interesting.
I don't know. We're
and so that's what I'm hoping, that we can have a good conversation with Devin tomorrow.
Yeah.
That isn't going to piss her off, but at the same time, ask some of these questions, because I guess I don't see the right side of the aisle doing the same thing as far as these rallies and stuff. Now, I'm sure there are Trumpers that go to rallies all over the place.
There was somebody with a flag driving around town today with an F Biden flag. They kept driving on by. I was cracking me up, honestly, because I'm like, he's not even president anymore, but how fun is it going to be to just fly that flag for how long, and that was cracking me up. And I know those people were like, I don't know. It didn't seem like anybody got too aggravated.
But I'm like, I would be legitimately curious to know, and maybe I'm showing age here and stuff, but a lot of these people aren't like 30 and 40-year-old people going to these rallies, right? They're like retirees.
Yeah.
And so do they go rally to rally to rally,
which is also kind of interesting, because
nothing better
statistically, once you get older, most of your older crowd statistically is more conservative. You tend to get more conservative as you get older. Yet everybody that we kind of saw at this was kind of the older crowd. So I don't know. To me, that doesn't also kind of make sense either. Like, I don't know. When you see a bunch of people that are like back when Bernie was all this and that, right? That was the young crowd. The young crowd was like all about Bernie and feeling the burn. But I'm just rattling off that's just a known fact. Statistically, as people get older, they tend to go more conservative, and it was an older crowd. So you're kind of like,
And that one lady, she's like, it's nice to see people here who aren't on Social Security. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
well, I'm not here to support you guys per se. I'm here to, I support the Constitution, and you have a constitutional right to do this. And I'm going to be the first one to be like, it did kind of piss me off on the whole social media thing. There were some people that were like running their social media mouse, quote unquote, running their keyboard on people having this. And we'll talk about it tomorrow more. But I'm like, you know what? I remember when we had Tea Party rallies in this community, and the left really didn't say a whole hell of a lot, to be honest with you. They let it happen. So if you're a true conservative, if you're a true proponent of the Republic, you should champion the opposition who's going to stand there and represent their viewpoint, because it's a constitutional right to do so, whether you agree with it or not.
Could it have been that the left back then kind of assumed or felt like maybe they were such in the minority, like they probably shouldn't speak up, versus...
Or they were on the other side where they thought they were
But I think it was
so far ahead of everything that it didn't really matter what they said.
It was.
Yeah,
it
could
was
be.
two different parties back then, even
Yeah,
15
that was like
years ago compared to today.
Yeah, because the actual Republican Party didn't like the Tea Party, did they?
Not 100%. There was your Tea Party Republicans, and then there were your
right
run of the mill Republicans.
Yeah.
I was more of a Tea, and like I said, I think the Tea Party Republicans were more libertarian than anything. But
isn't that weird how that just kind of just ended? Like
the Tea Party?
Yeah, nobody talks about that anymore.
I know.
That's just
so. And the whole hands off our democracy thing today, we're a democratic republic. We're not technically a democracy. That's
point.
something I want to visit with Devin about tomorrow. It's like, what is your definition of a democracy? Because we're a democratic republic. We're not a democracy in the United States. So what is your party protesting for as part of a democratic republic? Or, so curious.
I guess I'm just kind of interested too, to just get down to the heart of it. Is like, I don't know that a lot of them had a lot invested in it. I don't think their hearts were in it. Like,
but maybe they were. I mean, there were some very staunch.
No, there are, because if you're going to go drive from town to town, I mean, you're a firm believer or you got gas money from somebody. One of the
get $100 a town. That's not a bad day.
Yeah. So hey, I would do it.
I
got nothing on a Saturday. Hand me a send Elon to Mars sign. I'll wave that thing for $100.
And they're all retired. They can take any little bit they can get,
Maybe. And like I do know.
To be clear, I wouldn't wave that sign for $100, but
no. And I do know Soros has backed protests. I mean, they've proven the fact that Soros has paid protesters in the past for some of these big things. But I personally think that why would Soros waste his time in Stillwater County, Montana?
Because I don't think they even think about that. I think what happens is, this is what we're all figuring out now too, about what's been happening with USAID. So all of our tax money goes, okay. They're finding out that money then goes to US, or has been going to USAID. And then there's all these tons of NGOs, non-governmental organizations. And all of our money just gets given to them. And then come to find out, then I realized, like, oh, that's how a guy like Soros has been funding things all over the place. Is it's not really out of his pocket. He just forms NGOs. He starts an NGO. Our tax dollars go to his NGO, and then those funds just disappear and fund all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So it doesn't have to come out of his bank account, because it's just coming from our tax dollars into their accounts. There's no tracking, apparently, that Doge is releasing. There's no tracking of who these checks are going to. and just huge dollar amounts. And we're funding all of these things. We're funding the things. When everybody says, "Oh, Soros is funding these attorney generals and all these things," he's putting his guys in all these states in the justice departments. I don't think he's sitting there thinking about Columbus, Montana. He just forms the NGOs and makes up fake grassroots efforts. I feel like.
You think so?
I think he does. Yeah, because then, yeah. I mean, who knows? I don't have the proof. I'm just a guy. But
in a
saying,
storage building.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? But that's, when you start to realize when you start looking at what Doge is releasing, you start to realize the game here. You're like, oh, that's how we're $37 trillion in debt. This is a huge money laundering operation with our tax dollars. And that's why there's so much resistance to this of, let's find out where every penny is getting spent. Why is there any resistance to that?
Dude, I don't know.
So that's incredible. If there's any resistance to that, then that should be looked into. Any resistance to, let's find out where every penny is being spent and be transparent about it, whether it's a crooked Republican or a crooked Democrat, I don't care. Like, let's see where every penny is being spent. And if you have opposition to that, you're the problem.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get irritated every 2 weeks looking at my paycheck and seeing how much money comes out for the federal government. I'm like, where does it go?
Oh, we're finding out
and
now.
then I find out that it's going to freaking Sesame Street in the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, they say Sesame Street in the Middle East, but it's not.
Yeah, right. There's no Sesame Street happening on TV. It goes
to something there, and then it's gone.
Yeah, it's not tracked. It's like,
or like, how many millions of dollars for gender studies in Nepal? I've been to Nepal. They could give two shits about gender studies.
Yeah, it's a front.
Yeah,
it's a front. Mm-hmm. There's nobody there. Yeah, they're not putting up with that.
What they're worried about in third world countries is, how am I going to get my food, and what militant group is going to come attack me next?
Right.
That's what they care about.
Yeah, they're in a caste system over there. They're not concerned about gender. Yeah. They're not. Anyway, so, it's not their bag.
And the whole acronym for it is a miss. What do they call it in the government when they're trying to, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Misnomer?
No, misdirect.
Because
everybody's like, well, this is all money going towards education and children and research. And
you know what? It's 1984. I hate to go there, but it's that book, 1984. Whatever they name something, the actual purpose of it is the exact opposite. Come to find out, the U.S. Department of Peace, they're finding out that they have been funding the Taliban to the tune of $40 million per week. That's been through the Department of Peace. Mm-hmm. There's nothing peaceful about that over there. So anyway, all of those types of things we're starting to like. That's the beauty of what's happening right now, in my opinion, is there's a lot of transparency happening. Yeah. And so I don't know, anybody who's opposed to that, you're just like, ooh.
Yeah, I would think.
What's your angle on this?
I would think no matter what your political affiliation is, you'd want to know.
And we are going to go through some, we are going to go through some tough times finding all this stuff out, because there's kind of a reset going on here. It's like, hey, if your budget at home gets out of control, you've got credit card debt galore, you're spending way more than what you're bringing in, you aren't tracking anything, and yada yada, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, we've got to we got a budget.
Yeah,
you're going to tighten up. You're going to feel that pinch, and that's what our country is feeling.
And when that stuff happens at your home, and I'm speaking from experience here, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. When you're going through that at home, you're not communicating with one another. Most of the time.
Right.
Most of the time, you're not communicating.
You're finding out
with one
oh,
other.
I didn't know what you were spending. I've been.
Yeah. Or like, I didn't want to tell you that I've completely fucked up our finances.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this, and it goes both ways. And so you're not communicating. And then when you finally sit down and you're like, holy shit, we've got to get control of this and reset, and stuff's not going to be fun for a while.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean that there was ever really corruption, but there just was a lack of communication. And our government is notorious for that. It's this huge monstrous beast where one department doesn't communicate with another department. They're finding out now that one department is literally selling information that they should just be sharing to one department, and that department is selling information to these. Like they're going back and forth, and like just all the craziness of it. There's just not open communication. There's just complete breakdowns of communication. So I'm not saying that's everything they're finding is corruption, but I'm saying
and
they're finding a lot of ways.
When you have any kind of entity that has control, and this is coming from the law enforcement aspect of my mindset, when you have any entity that has control, it's really, you don't want to give up that information, because then you don't have the quote unquote control that you think you have. And what I reference that to is like, sometimes a detective unit won't share information with a patrol unit in a police department, even though that information is pertinent and can help patrol, which can help the detective unit. But because the detective unit is this specialized unit that, hey, I've got a detective badge, you have a patrol badge, I have a little bit more power than you, we're not going to share this information with you. And I mean, it can cause all sorts of issues within a department, within an agency. And I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it does happen.
Oh, I imagine it happens all the time.
I can see that happening at the government level all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, we have the power, we have this information, and as long as we don't give you that information,
right,
we still have the power.
Because the bigger the organization is, the more anonymity there is. Okay. When you're in smaller groups and have to kind of face each other and have accountability, it's harder to deal with that stuff, but it sure is easier to just blow things off, you know, and not care about what this department needs or is doing. When it's such a huge department, you don't have to know anybody or face anybody. It'd be really, that's just human nature. The bigger it gets, it gets to be a mess. Yeah. That's why I read a book, and I wish I knew the author right now. I know if I said this guy's name, he's a real popular author, but it was a book on companies that figure out, like, hey, once you get past 150 employees at this location, you need to go to like a different state or across the state and build another location. So we have the property right here. There's enough property right here. Okay. Yeah. But we could just add on to this facility. We could make a bigger factory here. We already have all the land. But what they've actually found is, once you get past 150 to 180 employees, you have a fall off in accountability. When they go on break with each other, when you get too many people, those who go on break don't really know who they're on break with. Like, it gets too big. There's too many numbers. So the break rooms get left a little sloppier. You know, people don't throw away their trash in the break room. Once you get past a certain number of employees, there's less accountability. And so there's very successful companies that have figured this out, that when we hit this number, we're just going to go way over here and build another factory and build up and have 150 employees over here. That's also when you start thinking about different colonies around here. I'm not exactly sure on the number of that the Hooterites hit, but they don't just grow and grow and grow a colony forever. They split off, and I would like to. I'm basically thinking now that is part of that is they figured this out, that hey, we're more efficient when we're in this range. We're in this, of population. Once we get beyond this, there's less accountability.
Yeah,
and it gets sloppy. The organization gets sloppy. So. And I think it's just a human nature thing, when we don't know when you get lost in the crowd, you just feel less accountable. It's also why your smaller communities, like, you tend to have less vandalism and trash and things like that, because you're more accountable to your neighbors, take more pride in your community. Once you get a little bit bigger and bigger, the park starts looking a little ratty because people just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else will do it.
Somebody else will take care of it. Yeah. And it's not my problem and whatever. So anyway, I think that's same thing. And that's why I think if they could just get this government down to a manageable size, and I'm all for it, how they were talking about, because I think people think, well, it's more efficient. We need to have everybody in Washington, D.C. to run everything for us. But I liked it when they were talking about, no, we're going to take some departments and we're going to split some things up and get them into smaller groups and get them out in the country where they're more accountable to the people we're all just sitting here making the rules over here in D.C. We don't live amongst the people. So now we're going to put those people, those positions out in those areas where they got to face their neighbors. And I think that'll help make them more accountable. So Anyway,
So was there, I'm going to put you on the spot since you haven't said anything. Growing up in a super small area,
Shots
you said
fired.
a little bit. Growing up in a super small area where you did, was there politics involved in it, or was it like everybody's helping their neighbor?
There's politics. It seems like there's politics everywhere, but I would say you definitely felt like you have more help your neighbor in a smaller community than as the community gets bigger.
Yeah. And that's what I think we need to get back to, is a lot of that.
yeah, 100%.
So I'm not upset, and I work in the school system. I work in the public education sector now as an SRO. I'm not upset about the DOE going away for the most part.
Well, and it's not really going to go away.
It's not going to go away.
It's not. I mean, what I mean by that is education.
The federal government
Right.
level is away.
Right.
State level.
But it doesn't mean, because there's people saying that our kids aren't going to get taught. No, education isn't going away. You know,
no, and it's just statistically proven that since the DOE came around,
everything's gotten worse.
test scores have gotten worse.
And we've fallen off huge in the international rankings. Yeah.
So
send it back to the States. I'm all for sending it all back
to the States. I do hope that some of these smaller rural schools will find a way to get funding because they desperately need it. Now, whether that's going to come from a state level or a federal level, I don't know.
I'm hoping all those funds just get sent back to the state.
I hope
the
so.
state becomes responsible for their own
It's
small
distributed
areas.
from the state.
Most of it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of it is distributed. It comes federally and then goes to the state and then gets distributed, right? But I don't know.
Nobody's going to go without their school lunches.
No.
That's all going over to Health and Human Services, I think.
Which,
So
I mean, RFK is going to make them a lot better.
the kids aren't going to be eating red 40, I guess. So
I hope not. You see how many states? I know we're going off on a rabbit hole. You see how many states are already
it's in our description. Rabbit
blocking,
holes.
or how many are like legislation wise are like no more dyes.
Yeah.
Like they're getting rid of different like red dye, yellow dye, something like that. States are making legislation to get that out of their foods.
Isn't it interesting too that nobody had to come in and drop the hammer on them? They're like self-regulating now. It's like dad's home, so I better clean up my room before he walks past my door.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of the mentality. And I think that's what's honestly been missing is like nobody's known who's in charge. So nobody's even cared. Everybody's just been running amok and doing whatever they want to do. And all of a sudden dad's home and it's like, oh, well, I better turn my music down in my room and clean it up and maybe just close the door so he doesn't look in there or I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the mentality going on.
And I'm super stoked for that. And we were, Shasta and I even took notice when we were in Canada last week, and they have a lot of regulations on food and stuff like that. Like one of Canada's big programs is like no food goes to waste. And so they don't, like a lot of the restaurants and stuff in Canada don't throw food away. They package it up and give it to the homeless communities or food shelter or food drives and homeless shelters and stuff like that. The restaurants do. But we were even we went to a Safeway to get some groceries because we're cheap and we're not going to go to a restaurant to eat on the way home. So we'll just go to Safeway and make a snackle box is what Shasta calls it. Why are you laughing? You're like,
Little kids, so
no, but even without, it was just her and I. And so Shasta makes a snackle box.
It's like a grown-up Lunchable.
Pretty much grown-up Lunchables. So we went to a Safeway in Canada on the way home.
Have you get over there on that microphone over there?
So
Kelly's over here like, why am I the only one? Here? How does she get to sit in the corner in the dark?
But like we were legitimately noticing, and there were certain ingredients that I picked out to look. The ingredient list on the foods in Canada compared to the foods in the US were pretty noticeable. Like most of the ketchup had like 3 ingredients on the Canadian ketchup compared to like the 8 or 9 that we have here. Even deli meat, the Canadian deli meat that we looked at, that we ended up buying, had a third of the ingredients that we have in deli meat here in the US.
All the Canadian bacon up there.
Right. And so I don't know anybody that would be against that kind of stuff.
Tons of people are, because they're
It's
like,
weird.
hey, I give you those chemicals, all the people that are like funding it, they want those chemicals in there. They want to get rid of their byproducts or whatever. Yeah, those are the people. It's crazy that there are people who are like pro. Yeah, let's have crap in our food.
I work my ass off in the gym not to be fat.
Man.
So I mean, if I could get any help because the foods we eat are made a little bit better, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy to me that people, and if it was a Democratic president or a president that was elected by the Democratic Party pushing the same thing, I don't think we'd see any of this.
We'd see none of it.
We'd see none of the pushback that we're getting now.
You see videos of Obama saying the same thing that Trump has just said.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he laid off huge numbers of government employees. But then what happened?
And some of those videos, and Schumer was like standing up there and he was applauding Obama for like, we're limiting the amount of federal government employees, we're making government smaller, we're listening to the people.
Did you guys see the video of Nancy Pelosi complaining about the tariffs in China and how the tariffs have been all unfair, and how all these countries charge tariffs on our products, so our stuff can't make it going into their countries, but yet we take all. So the same thing that Trump is talking about, reciprocal tariffs, about, hey, we're just going to charge the tariffs that they've been charging us. We're just going to even it up because this is what they've all been charging us. Nancy Pelosi in the 90s standing there, or it was probably even the 80s. She looked too young, man. But it's so interesting. All those things are just coming back. I saw all those clips of Bill Clinton and Al Gore talking about being, hey, we need Doge. Basically, that's what they were saying. And they were like, oh, and hey, we're going to cut 12,000 federal jobs. Nobody cared.
Way more than that.
Yeah. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
So now it's just like, isn't that so interesting how things have just completely turned?
It's Trump, what do they call it? Trump derangement syndrome. People just hate the man so much that no matter what he pushes out,
whatever it is, they'll do the opposite. If he were to just go pro-Ukraine, they'd have that war stopped in no time. You know what I mean? Like, they would literally go do the opposite.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Which means because I just said the U word means we just got demonetized anyway. So all the thousands of dollars we were going to generate from this live stream, we just lost because I got a notification the other day.
Was YouTube one of them that said we couldn't talk shit about the Ukraine?
Yeah, that was who it was. It was
YouTube.
It was YouTube. Yeah, saying if you talk about Ukraine, you get demonetized.
So much for retiring 3 years early.
Right.
Guess I'm stuck here for a while.
No, that was an interesting. I read that line twice. I was in my the AdSense account the other day, and there was like a big notification.
It was from Google.
It was but it was over YouTube. It was just saying you'll be demonetized if you I don't know, said something, but it says all these words of like, if your dismissal of the war in Ukraine, if you, there was like 3 or 4 different things that it said, you will be demonetized immediately.
Really?
No warnings. And so it was kind of like, okay, well then all that does is it encourages you to just not talk. So let's stifle communication. So, okay.
Which is weird because, like,
I guess you still have a right to say it. You can say it, but you just won't make any money from the ad revenue. They're going to still run ads, but if you read all the small print, just because they run ads in your content doesn't mean they're going to give you the money from it. And
interesting.
Yeah.
I did see where Meta,
and we're probably not even live streaming anymore. I just let the whole cat out of the bag. You just let
the whole cat out of the bag.
And Mr. Google was up there and probably just reached over and hit that big red button.
Chris Mater, since you're demonetized, does that mean you're going back into the burrito business?
we might be slinging burritos.
I do think that was interesting. We go and visit with people at this protest today, and all everybody talked about was, I remember your burritos. I remember your burritos. I remember your burritos.
That you should go out with us in public more often, because that's about what we get anywhere we go. That's the car. Like, somebody brings that up, and I love that. I mean, that's a great compliment. We do appreciate that, but it's funny because It used to be like, but when we were doing burritos, it was everywhere we went. It was like, hey man, sure miss your burgers. Sure miss your, it was always like the last thing we did. So anyway,
I don't know. I think it's funny, and it's how you can leave an imprint on a community. I mean, you guys did burritos essentially what, 8 years?
We did burritos probably close to 8 years. I mean, we started doing them in 16 or 17. It was 16. So yeah, we were in business for 8 years and we did burritos for 7.
So you essentially made a breakfast for a few hours a day.
Yeah.
And that's what still people are like, dude, the last time I saw you was when I went up to the window and got a burrito with the
the guy we were talking to today.
Yeah.
I thought he went to school with April. So we left and I was just like, oh, so you went to school with him? She's like, no, he was a customer of ours and he bought a lot of burritos. Like he came all the time. She's like, no, like he came a lot. She just kept saying that.
About his Toyota and his cool rack on the top of his.
Yeah.
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 You might as well swing that over there.
But I mean, I think it's pretty damn phenomenal how much of an impact something like that can have on a community.
Yeah. It is. It's wild.
And since you're both here, pull that up to you, April.
Well,
you're not on a camera. You're not hear you.
We'll just hear you.
She's totally okay with that, huh?
Yeah.
Fine, I'd be on camera.
So
we don't have a camera.
Do you guys now, being removed from that, do you miss that at all?
I miss the people.
Miss the people.
Do you?
I miss the interactions. I miss seeing all the people every day. That was like my.
Oh, it goes up to that camera up there. That's funny. So I stole that camera from her position and I used it as an overhead cam. So it's shooting down.
Kelly's got to make like hand animals.
Yeah. Well, whenever April's talking, yeah.
Yeah, I miss the people. I don't miss the crazy long hours and the havoc it wrecked, physically. Yeah.
And I think that's something that people, and I hope, and I might be saying too much here. Milo always said it. I might be saying too much here. And he almost says it like in a Batman voice. I might be saying too much here. But that's something that I don't think anybody understands in a food truck. The physical toll that it takes. I mean, watching you guys do this, and now that I've gotten to know you guys over the years and listening to you guys talk about this, the physical toll it takes to do something like that is insane. And you wouldn't think that because, you're cooking food. I mean, when I go home.
On your feet on a hard surface not moving that far is way harder than freaking.
It is, and it's like you think is that all of our burritos were a pound each. So if we were doing 3 burritos, that's 300 pounds of food.
Yeah, we did 300 pounds, or we were doing 300 burritos a day with just the 3 of us at the end.
With just 3 of us, 300 burritos a day.
Yeah,
so that's 100 pounds of potatoes.
And so, how many? I mean,
we cut those potatoes
on the transverse when you're out feeding cows. What are you running bale wise? You run in the tractor, but if you had to go out by hand, what are you throwing bale wise?
Well, you'd be throwing like yesterday, put out 5 big bales at 1,200 pounds, so that's 6,000 pounds.
Yeah,
or 7,200 pounds.
So I mean, yeah, but I
did that in 50-pound bales. That's a lot of bales.
That's a lot of bales in 50-pound bales. Yeah.
We did 50-pound boxes of potatoes.
Lots of 50-pound boxes of potatoes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think people realize, and that's why like Josh and Kaylee, I have a lot of respect for. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into running that food truck day in and day out, and
our alarm clock would go off at 10:30 at night.
I know.
And a lot of people would be like, "So what? So you guys open at 5? So you guys get here 5 then?" Like, no.
I recall pulling over your employees at 1:00 in the morning because they're speeding because they're late for work.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're
like, who's out in Columbus at 2 o'clock in the morning? Unless they're leaving the bar. Who's really out? We were.
No, but then it was a good gig because then I had somebody to hang out with at 2 o'clock in the morning. I go knock on the door at the back, and Milo and April, they're prepping food at 2 in the morning.
Music's playing. And
and then I'd fall asleep and never get a burrito because I go to bed.
Yeah.
Cole scared me a couple times.
Did I?
Yeah, he walked up behind me. I was like walking, carrying something.
Oh, because you're coming out of the cooler.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Ghost.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah,
Good.
people don't realize what I think, and it might be different for like food trucks that do just lunches and dinner, maybe, but doing a breakfast food truck dude, that's insane.
Well, the sheer volume of that, there's no way that we could have served that many people. So the way we had got that going and finally figured out is like that. Like, okay, we're able to actually serve 300 people here in one meal. But when it came to like lunch,
We could never do
it's
that.
impossible for 2-3 people to serve that many people, making it to order like that. I mean, you just don't have enough time. You can't get it out fast enough. So when we were doing lunch, I mean, if you served 80 people in
That was a good
2-3 hours, I mean, that's a good lunch,
Yeah.
So
There just was no comparison.
yeah, and you worked really hard during that period of time.
Mhm.
So it's kind of interesting because when we were doing those other numbers, though, it's spread out over many more hours. It was way less stressful than doing things to order. And so just going in there, knowing what we have to prep and do all of that, we could serve a lot more people with a lot less stress.
It was very routine, and so you just knew, like,
Right.
clockwork. There was no
Yeah.
even like thinking a lot of times on
No.
it. But lunch was a different game. Lunch was more creative, like on my standpoint, and I did like that part about it. But as far as
Chris Mader says you should distort her voice so it looks like you're interviewing someone in witness protection. I know. I wish we had a silhouette thing going over there.
all right, I'll black.
We could probably do that. We got the I don't need the cough button anymore because I'm not coughing. But I wonder if we could make it and we push it halfway and it distorts the voice.
I'm sure we could get a voice distortion thing in line over there.
But I remember, and I bought burritos when I would go skiing in the morning. I'd swing in and grab a burrito, and then I'd try to piggyback off your social media. So I'd make a reel, and the first thing I'd do is film the big fat lunchbox logo as I'm driving to Red Lodge, and then I'd be like, flip the camera and take this big old bite of a burrito as I'm driving to Red Lodge. Yeah.
I would keep you satisfied all day.
And that was pretty much before TikTok. So if I would have done it during TikTok days, I probably would have got a lot more.
Yeah. Thank you,
So-
Cindy. Cindy says, do miss your burritos. Nothing compares. So we do appreciate
That's
that.
sweet.
Yep. We get a
Yeah.
lot of kind words about that. And
But I did find that.
that never gets old to hear that people like those. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did find that interesting today, even at this protest. And I think at this point, most people know our political viewpoint. Well, people were referring to us as the podcast guys.
Yeah,
that was funny.
That was funny.
Like four
I mean,
different people walked
yeah.
up and said that.
I'm a cop. I'm on city council. But people
You're
are
the
like,
podcast guy.
you're the podcast guy.
So you
you know,
knows what really
that's
matters
funny.
in the world.
I know, right?
well, probably in that scene, like that's what they are relating you to is like,
Which is good.
yeah, I don't know. Cause I was like,
It gets you out.
I flew that
more.
drone out there just getting some footage, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get flipped off, or I was trying to stay way back, and they're waving and all that type of stuff. And then
Really
to find out that
Yeah.
people were saying, oh, that's probably the podcast guys on drone.
Yeah, that was when I showed up. One of the first guys that come up and says like, "Hey, man, I'm glad you're here. I figured you'd be here taking pictures." He's like, "Was that you guys with the drone for the podcast?"
Well, I didn't have it hooked up, but you can go live with that thing too. And
Yeah.
I did say to April, I was like,
Should
oh,
we go live?
I wish we could go live with this, but I was like, shoot, I haven't set it all up to do
I
it
know.
yet.
And you didn't even know you had the Zoom on there.
I
Not
did.
9 times.
I knew I had a 3-time zoom on there,
Yeah, we
but
thought we
I've
only
just
could go
never.
3, not
All of a
9.
sudden, I was like, I hit the button and hit it again. It went to a 6-time zoom and then to a 9-time zoom, and I'm like, oh, I got to back it up. I can't even read their sign.
I really wish I would have had the Pocket 3 today. It would have
Oh,
been
man.
super useful. But
Oh, heck
it'll be
yeah.
here. It'll be here Monday, I hope.
Yeah, nice.
Milo said he's not going to use it. He's got to do a bunch of content. I'm like, why wouldn't you use it?
Because it's yours.
You use my stuff all the time.
I have not used your stuff in a while now. I've been
And
weaning myself off.
I offered it.
I know you have. You're a nice guy. I appreciate
So,
that. But I want you to be using it so much that you don't have time to loan it out to
No.
schlubs like me.
My 9 to 5 makes it so I can't use it. So it might as
We're
well be
gonna get
getting
one soon. We're
used.
gonna need to get one soon.
You're going to need to get one soon.
I hope.
So that's why you can use mine when it gets here. So then you can be like,
no, we're going to come up with a whole strategy for you. You're going to be using it all day, all the time. Driving from school to school, you're going to be recording little things.
I don't know if we can do that, because at one time we tried to do, we had an actual videographer that was going to ride around with us in the police department and make videos, and we got put the kibosh on that by the administration. So I don't know. But it might be, I mean, it was a different time then. It was 15 years ago now. God damn, I've been a cop forever. So. But Shelby says he's still hoarding sauce.
Shelby's still hoarding sauce.
Guess who else is still hoarding 2 bottles of Super Hot?
Oh, that stuff lasts forever.
This guy, I haven't opened. I think you gave me 3. I have 1 or 2 left, and I'm very picky when I use it.
Stuff is hot, and I love hot, but it got hotter as it sits.
Yeah, it aged.
It's good.
And I bet you it's even hotter now.
Yeah,
I love the Super Hot. It was like my favorite.
Yeah, but
I just want to turn your light on. It's weird that you're in the dark over there.
Making that sauce was a game changer, man. It was.
But the camera doesn't go to her, so what's it matter?
I know. It's for my own peripheral.
Oh, it flipped again. That's why Kelly needs to make hand in the square. You need to make hand animals. No, in the square.
That's where
that's what it looks like.
When I start talking.
There he goes. On Monday, we'll be using that camera. Monday morning.
Yeah.
On our Gazed Upon the Bear Tooth.
Yeah.
Where's it at?
Yeah. That's the spot where we set things down we're talking about, or Eddie brings over artifacts or newspapers. We set things there.
Yeah. Have you seen any of those? The Gazed Upon the Bear Tooth podcasts that we do in conjunction with the museum with all the local history? You can say no. It's fine.
Probably not, because I think I've watched the ones with you, and and Crystal, and maybe a couple others, and that's about it. It's like,
those are fun ones.
Right?
They're fun.
Not right now. I'm freaking between school and chasing kids around. That's about.
I get that.
Yeah. Kelly is one of my heroes. Trying to do school almost full time, plus working, plus doing all the kids stuff.
What are you going to school for?
Accounting.
Nice.
Harsh.
I know, right?
But
couldn't do it,
man. Know all those numbers.
It's so worth
numbers
it.
Are fun.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Try to play cribbage with this guy, and I'm counting, and he looks at me and he's like, 14. I'm like, let me fucking count.
Well, I was in there. I was trying to split the 2 photos between our thumbnail, and I'm just like frazzled and just like 1280. Like, it's so basic. Both of those numbers I can split.
640.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta get math out and do a calculator. And I was like, that is such basic math. He ripped it out.
I know.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I were to go back to school, it would be business.
Would it?
Yeah, because business will teach you even in your personal life on how to run everything.
Mm-hmm.
That would be it. Yep.
You're kind of going volume up high and then low, high volume and low. She's rocking.
Chris says the ride along videos are pretty hot right now. Fridays with Frank in Arizona have been a big Fridays with Frank. You guys watch it on TikTok? He's a cop in Arizona, and dude, he films pretty much every traffic stop that he does. Like the sheriff's office that he works with is super cool with it, and he's very, very articulate. He's a great traffic cop. So you should look it up, Fridays with Frank, and there's some really good videos on there that he films. I don't know if the sheriff would let us do that. I should run it by him.
So what you should do is just record anyway, and then find, get good ones that you then go and show. They don't get released. They don't get shown to anybody. To me, that's show the proof first.
Dude, the problem is Fridays with
you're
Frank,
already wearing a body cam. So what's the difference between, what I'm saying?
But, and this is my personality coming out. When I'm back in my traffic cop, drug cop role, you don't probably want to listen to me on a camera. You don't. I go into that world. I go into that drug world. I am not I'm not this guy. There's a certain way you have to be.
Yeah.
And I love the drug world in law enforcement. And in the grand scheme of things, getting drugs off the street is a really tough job, because I can get drugs off the street and where we live, because we live in the biggest drug corridor in the U.S.,
Yeah.
we're just going to get the same amount.
As long as you're not getting
later.
the sheriff's department sued, they'll probably be down with
I
that
know.
content. There's
But-
an audience for everything.
But there has been more than one email over the years where the county attorney's like, you need to like change the way you talk to people, because when we play this in court, it doesn't
It
look
doesn't
good.
look good. Are you being spicy, Cole, to people?
Do you just tell them like, then you get out there in these stressful situations?
No, but
Is that what you
people
want to
people
say?
in that world talk a certain way. People in the drug world talk a certain way.
I get it.
When you're trying to get information from those
I've seen
people,
Bad Boys 1 and 2.
Man, it is a totally different
What you gonna
world.
do?
but yeah. But when you talk to people in that drug world, there's a certain way that you talk. And sometimes,
Yeah.
apparently,
You got to go there.
I talk like that a little bit too much.
Do
So
you
you
go home
talking
with it?
like them, or are you talking?
Do you accidentally slip into that at home?
Once in a while I do. I don't know, Kelly, when we hang out, I don't ever talk like that, do I?
All of a sudden your kids are like, geez, Dad.
And Kelly would know, because Kelly is what I would consider one of my battle buddies. He's not in law enforcement, but there are times where shit's stressful at work, and just hanging out with him, kind of puts my mind back at ease and grounds me back into where I need to be. And so I don't know what he sees or don't see with me and Clay, as how we are as cops, but whether he knows it or not, he's one of my rocks in my life that has kept me to not go insane in my job over the last ever how long
That's
we've
pretty
known each
big.
other. So
Seat to fill, Kelly.
Man,
he's known that.
You got a lot of pressure.
You're like,
I'm
oh
like,
man.
wow.
No, and the nice thing is, like, there are times when we can hang out and say 2 words to each other in an hour, and it has been a wonderful hour. Like, we've gone skiing together, and I bet we've talked 10 minutes in a 6-hour day,
Oh yeah.
and it's great.
Yeah.
It's what I've needed.
No pressure.
Nothing. So, and there might be like one of us takes we take a header going down some moguls or something. We laugh at each other, and
Yeah.
then we just keep going. We don't say a word.
It's like,
Perfect.
Are you all right?
Low
Yep. All right,
pressure.
let's go.
Let's go.
Low
That is
pressure.
broke.
Dude, put your ski on. Let's go. So, speaking of, we might go tomorrow since there's a bunch of snow. Up
My
there.
mom says, where is Fridays with Frank shown?
Oh, dear.
Oh, it's on TikTok.
Your mom said that.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I'll,
you should watch that.
I'll preview those
No.
first,
Yeah.
Mom.
Fridays, it's pretty PG.
Yeah.
And I think he thinks he's like a celebrity. He's got this really nice manicured beard. My beard's better than his, but no, he's a very good light for law enforcement
Yeah.
with Frank.
That's good. We need
So
people that
TikTok.
are
He's
bringing
on
the
TikTok. Dude,
positive
he's
spin.
big on TikTok.
If you every time Chris says the Pinal County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, that's what it pulls
On,
up as the
YouTube.
Pinal
Yeah.
County Sheriff's.
Yeah, he's
Oh
on
yeah,
YouTube,
you can
too.
find him on YouTube.
Phoenix,
Okay, great.
Arizona. Yeah, down in the south.
Every time the screen, for anybody tuning in here late, like my mom, every time the screen goes to the black tabletop, that's April speaking. Because
You just left the change
yeah.
on for it.
what
Can you
that?
shut the camera off so it doesn't switch? Or no, that's how it's wired in.
I mean, if I have that microphone on, it goes to that camera.
To that camera. Gotcha.
He's the master of sarcasm. See, I use sarcasm too, Shelby, but for some reason my sarcasm comes off of being a dick. Like, I've had people in the past and they totally blow a stop sign, and I'll pull them over, and I'm not one of those cops. I'm like, do you know why I pulled you over? I do not like.
Do you never ask that?
No, I don't. One, why? I should know why I pulled you over. You should know why I
I
pulled
think
you
these
over.
are guys who don't know what else to say when they
There's
walk
no
up.
reason.
They ask you, why did you pull me over?
Oh, no. Cops all the time.
It's got
Oh.
to
So like they'll roll up to the window,
But what-
roll the window down, they'll walk up and be like, I'm Deputy Walton of the Stillwater County Sheriff's Office. Do you know why I pulled you over?
You
Yeah.
don't ever say that.
I have never. I don't.
What do
say
you
that.
say?
I'm Deputy Wellness Stillwater County Sheriff's Office. I pulled you over because there's a stop sign right there, and you decided to drive right through it without stopping.
Perfect. Then they know the deal.
They know the deal, right?
I get asked. I just am point blank when they come up and they say, "Do you know why I pulled you over?"
I'm like, yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I just say everything. I tell too much. I'm like, I'm gonna probably tell
Take
you.
me to jail.
I'm gonna probably tell you too much. Okay.
No.
And this is what's in the trunk. And there's duct tape. And there's, Anyway, I blurt it all out.
I've always told people when I pull them over exactly what I pull you over for. And there's some. No, I wasn't. I'm like, okay. Well, guess what? You have the, we live in the United States of America. You have the opportunity to go to court and refute all this. I have video evidence of what the violation that took place. So let's go to court. I get paid overtime for it, but no, I go up to the window. I tell you who I am, why I pulled you over, what information I need from you, conduct my business.
Yeah.
And if the infraction deserves a citation, I'll write you a citation. If it's something that I believe is my discretion, that I think a warning will suffice, I'll give you a warning.
From my experience, I think your approach is in the minority.
Probably.
I think most of the guys walk up and they do the same old, do you know why I whatever?
Maybe it's just kind of like, it's like
'Cause
not
it's
like a bait
conversation
thing,
starter.
but a conversation starter.
Yeah.
So it makes people be like, oh.
But okay, so for me, I look at it as a safety issue. Okay, I don't have 3-4 cops that can come back me up in 2 seconds.
Exactly. You don't want to be playing games.
I want to be in charge of that conversation from minute one. I want to let you know that I know what the hell I'm doing. Okay,
Yeah, right.
because
and this is why I'm pulling you over for this reason, not no other.
And I want to be the one in charge of this interaction.
No, I would like that much better than the old like, oh, let me guess at which infraction I just did, because I'm like, is it that my, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like when they do that, you're like,
oh, was I speeding when my brights on?
Because most of the time when you're getting pulled over, you're probably just not paying attention. So then you're trying to be like, oh, I wasn't even paying attention. I don't even know what I did.
Yeah. There's times, I got pulled over once. I had my brights on and I was speeding and I was not even paying attention. I was like, I am sorry. And it's always like, well, where are you going?
Or I do the other reason, or they ask me
from?
any reason why you're doing this fast, or any reason why you're whatever.
See, I don't ask that either.
Yeah.
Because as a citizen, why am I driving 85? Because that's what I put my freaking cruise control at.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
cruise
honest.
Control isn't honest because you're not paying attention.
I got pulled over. I was in the left lane in a semi truck leaving Phoenix, and the guy pulls me over. A motorcycle cop pulls me over, and he's like, "Why are you going this?" Whatever he said, and I was like, "Because I don't know exactly where the sign is. I know I'm getting close to it and I don't know, man. It's Friday, and I'm heading home, and I'm getting on it." Because I got a long ways to drive, and I'm just, that's why I'm speeding. And then he's like, okay. And it's like,
What's your admit?
like I didn't get a ticket. And the guy was just like, okay. Cause I was just like super honest. I was like, oh man, you know what? My autopilot was on. And I know there's the sign that kicks us up to 65 around here soon. It's like, right. And he's like, yeah, you're short of it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's not calibrated. I mean, my autopilot's a little off of where it's at, but that's why it's Friday. I got Friday on the mind. And then most of the time though, I just be honest, and I've gotten out of a lot of tickets just being honest.
But I mean, like most people driving down the road know that they're driving over the speed limit.
Yeah.
We have most cars, from 76 on up have cruise control.
Yeah.
So if you set your cruise control at 89,
not use in the winter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Don't use it in the winter. And in Montana, that's from August until May.
Yeah.
But most people know. And so I'm not going to sit there and play that game. I pulled you over for speeding. This posted speed limit on this road is 70 miles an hour. Radar indicated that you were going 85 miles an hour.
I have to tell you, I do zone out a lot. And sometimes I don't have my cruise control set. I am zoned out. But when I was going back to the safety
April's
issue.
feeling like she has to confess over there.
I know.
I know. See, I'll just confess it.
But
I
as far
probably
as
speed more when it's like a little bit iffy weather conditions than when it's nice and dry. Because when it's nice and dry, I put the cruise on and go. If it's a little iffy, all of a sudden look down and shit,
You're
little
flying.
Yeah, because you're just not paying attention.
Oh, I'm the same way though. Like driving to Canada, the road between Harlow and Eddie's Corner.
Oh man, yeah.
I mean,
So I got my last ticket.
I've driven that road.
Oh, really?
I've driven that road a ton of times, and the road was like partly icy, partly not, partly icy, partly not. I'm doing 80,
And there's
the whole
nobody
time.
out there.
you know,
It should be
because
80.
I can drive that road that fine when it's like that. It doesn't bug me. So yeah. I mean, I was speeding on that road the entire way between Harlow and Eddie's Corner. But
So
but for me, making that assertion right off the bat puts me in control of that conversation, because if shit were to hit the fan, I don't have the opportunity, like big cities, you have backup coming right away. I
Yeah,
don't.
They call in.
I mean, I might call for, like, hey, this guy's getting hinky. Hey, something's not right. This guy's arguing with me. We're sending me a backup unit. Well, there's two of us working. What if he's 40 miles away?
yeah,
A backup unit at 40 miles away, if he's going code, is a 30-minute response.
yeah.
And that's if good roads, people are yielding to
Telling
his lights and
people all
sirens.
the secrets out here.
That's all right. I don't care.
Right.
Right.
I'm like,
But
oh no.
All the evil
But-
masterminds are jotting down notes.
if you're a pushover, lazy ass cop, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
And I refuse to go out that way.
Yeah.
I do.
I don't
And
blame
it might be because I've drank quite a bit today, but I refuse to go out that way. I owe it to my family. I owe it to my friends. If I'm going to go out at my job, I'm going to go out fighting.
you. Yeah.
I'm not going to go out because I was a lazy ass.
All right.
And so those confrontations, those conversations that I have with people when we're in that situation, I have to take the upper hand.
Yeah.
And that's where, and I think some people are like, well, cops are assholes. Well, you know what? There's a reason why. And that's one of those situations, because if I look like, and
I just look at how everybody talks to each other online.
To the good places typically.
no,
Yeah.
we're not called to the good.
I look at how
places.
people talk to each other online, and then I pretty much imagine that that's how people talk to cops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They
like,
do.
Yeah.
They
and
try
it's
to.
similar. You know what I mean? It's kind of like this detachment of like,
I don't know how anybody gets an attitude with a cop, because I'll just start. I would just cry if they looked at me wrong. I'd be like, oh.
No. They're, and it's just like any job, there are people that shouldn't be cops that are cops,
Yeah.
like any job. But I owe it to my family. I owe it to my friends to do the best that I can at that job, because if they have to go to my funeral because something happens, I want Kelly to crack open a beer and be like, dude, he was doing his best. He was being a badass, and it was just a situation he was in. Salute,
yeah.
That's what I want. And I won't ever give anything less. Whether I do this job another 3 years, whether I do it another 15 years, that's how I look at this job. And so if that makes me an asshole, and if that's how people view me in some of these conversations and confrontations and interactions I have with the public, so be it.
Yeah. You go home every
mean,
night, though.
I'm going home,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
No, I don't envy the position, man. I wouldn't be able to do that. I would not be. I do not have the mentality.
and
for
I
it.
think being a cop in rural Montana is probably one of the greatest.
Yeah,
Oh,
I,
it's
I would
gotta
think
be.
so. Yeah.
I
I-
couldn't imagine being a cop anywhere if I were to be.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. And it's 90%, 80% good, 20% we have to do business. But
Yeah.
I do like being a cop in the community and in a rural area.
What is it like for you have you been, since you've been a cop, have you been off duty and then get pulled over by another cop?
Twice.
What's that like?
I got a ticket one time
Did ya?
I did.
Whoa.
from the Montana Highway Patrol.
And you're like, I'm going to remember that guy's name and badge number.
I do. It was shortly after I became a cop. I was driving from here to Billings and I got pulled over. I had my cruise set at 85.
Mhm.
He pulled me over for 85, said I was doing 85 and wrote me a ticket.
Oh, well, that's pretty straightforward.
So
Is what it is.
it is what it is. And then I got pulled over by a city cop here in town.
Really?
Somebody I've worked with 2 hours before, and he
Oh
pulled
my
me over.
Ah.
He's like, "You didn't use your blinker." I'm like, "Yes, I did."
You're
He's
like,
like, "No, you didn't." I'm like, "Whatever. Write me a ticket."
you start acting just like regular civilians.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. She's like, I got the footage. So,
I would think it would be hard for you to work in a town that you went to high school in, and
It is.
then have friends or people that you've known and be that person that you pull them over like that. That would be
So-
hard.
So it is. There are times. I mean, so I've been doing this now in the community 17 years. And so most people now know that I'm a cop, but I live here. I'm engaged in the community. I do a lot for this community. I mean, shit, I'm on city council. I'm part of the Stillwater County Chamber of Commerce. We do the podcast.
I was going to say, you're
part of-
half of the Big Fat Podcast.
we do a lot of stuff at the museum. We do a lot of stuff at Palladium Brewing. I play co-ed softball. So now, after 17 years, people understand, and a lot of people in the community can differentiate. There's Cole, who's the sheriff's deputy that has a job to do. And if I F up when he's working, he's going to be the cop.
Yeah.
And then there's people that understand, if I'm out at the bar having a beer, we can hang out and have that conversation, and we're not going to have an issue. When I first started, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
There were people that were dicks to me.
And you're younger, and it's all.
And I was in my 20s. But I did leave and came back and became a cop later. It's like I didn't graduate high school and become a cop 2 years later.
Man, that'd be tough.
Yeah.
I went away, joined the military, came back, went to college to be a teacher, turned out to be a cop who now works in the schools. But
Yeah, it all comes full circle.
and so when I was first a cop, it was tough. But now anymore, because it's separated by close to 20 years, most people,
now it's just ingrained in the community.
most people can understand that this is my job. I have a job to do, and I'm not going to judge you in that when I'm in my job role, or I'm not going to judge you when I'm not in my job role. But if we have that interaction in my job role, that's my job.
Yeah. Humans are messy. Everybody can be messy. So.
But I don't think I'd want to do it any different, because I believe that I've made an impact in this community for the good, that when I finally do retire, that I'm going to leave this place better than.
Hey, if
when
you
I
think
showed
we
up.
made an impact just doing some breakfast burritos in the morning,
right? Just a burrito.
I mean,
come
however
on.
many years of being law enforcement in this town, you've made a much larger impact.
Don't ask my kids what it's like being the dad of a cop or being the kid of a cop who lives in the area. But
right.
I don't know.
Well, we had friends that their parents were a cop and a detective and a sheriff and the chief of police. And so.
Well, yeah, I mean, like Ben Woods' mom was the chief of police in Columbus, and his dad was a detective for the feds for a long time.
Yep.
And Ben and I were really good friends growing up in school.
Yeah.
So I guess for YouTube land, we were a year apart in school.
Yep.
But I mean, they made it through okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
well, Ben became a cop.
And Ben is the undersheriff over in Lake County.
Yeah.
North of Missoula, and he's a damn good cop. Ben is a really good cop.
Yeah,
so he's one of my.
His parents were pretty. Yeah.
So Ben may or may not ever see this and may not ever know this, but he's been one of my one of the people that I've looked up to in law enforcement ever since I became a cop, because he's a really good cop. Yeah.
The comment section is out of control. I'm sorry, I don't mean to
No,
distract
you're
you guys there, but as his parent, I get a lot. Your son pulled me over.
What?
That's from Cindy Waltner.
Oh.
Yes. And also, Kelly is developing a fan base, Kelly's Hands. I believe there's now a Kelly's Hands official on X and TikTok now.
As long as
that counting career,
there you go.
throw that away.
I wonder why my tablet's not keeping up, because I don't see any of that. That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah,
dude.
look
I
there.
think that Chris Mader has already purchased Kelly'sHands.com. He's going to camp on that.
Smart move.
Hey,
Yes,
Seth
smart move.
Delonoy.
Seth,
I'm glad
Delanoy.
you're enjoying. Do we know Seth?
Seth was a longtime customer of ours.
Okay.
Yeah, we know
From-
Seth.
Back in the Big Fat Live days.
Seth Delanoy.
I'm trying to put a face with that.
Well, he was on our live streams a lot.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
On our live streams, that's
Okay.
what I go to. But
Yeah. Look
right,
at that.
Seth.
Kelly's got his hands going like crazy.
He's watching the monitor up there for any time he sees
Little
April
hand
talk.
shadow
Yeah,
puppets.
when April's
Yeah.
April talks, my hands go.
April talks and he starts doing sign language.
So, but no, I as I'm getting up there, not up there in age, but I'm in my middle part of life. I don't see myself in the past doing anything different. I love my job. I love the impact I have on the community. And now that I'm in the schools 5 days a week during the school year, dude,
It's like he came full circle.
yeah,
Went to
I
school
did.
for a teacher.
Went to school to be a teacher. I'm back in the schools and I love it, dude. I love every minute of it. And
That's awesome.
hanging out with the kids and teaching them different things and having interactions with them. And some of those kids are like, "You're not going to get me." And then I pull them over.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm like,
always.
right?
Don't ever say that.
I'm like, "Guess what? Here's your ticket, bro. I told you guys you get a ticket."
Don't speed and buckle up.
But no,
I would
it's
be the
fun.
buckle police.
And like when I first started, there were times where like I didn't go to the local drinking establishments in Stillwater County for years.
Yeah,
that was
that'd
probably
be
a good
tough.
thing, though.
You know,
That'd be really tough.
And now I don't have that big of an issue. Most people, a bunch of us will go out and have a night where we just need to chill out and relax.
But
and
you're
going to
be more respected at the age you are now than if you were in your 20s going out and partying hard.
Probably.
And yeah.
Probably. So, and like, or we pick out times like we day drink where nobody's in the bar. So, but no, it's a great career. It's a great job. I've made some great friends doing it. And
Oh, that's funny. Chris Mader said, n.gov. You've got to get all the domains before fake sites get started.
I saw
Kelly, he's
that.
get them all.
we're all going to go home and Kelly's going to be like, dude, check out my new OnlyFans page for my hands.
He's like, I'm making more money than ever.
I know.
Can you make money on that?
You would be
Dude,
surprised.
You'd be surprised. So Shasta was visiting with me the other day and she's like, dude, we could just make an OnlyFans page where you're just like squeezing stuff with your hands because of your tattoos and you'd probably make a shit ton of money.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there's some people out there.
I know, right? So my plan is we're going to do live podcasts and I'm going to have another camera set up here and I'll just squeeze something with my hand. And
There you go. Two birds,
I
one
don't know
stone.
that I can watch that pop up on the monitor over here. I'll be like, I need to go outside and throw a baseball around to shake the feeling off after every time we do an episode.
But how do you top stuff like that when you have people like Shelby on here?
You don't. You can't.
How do we top having Shelby on here?
No, never mind. You missed that one. April got it. You totally didn't.
He was talking about the squeezing hands and OnlyFans. He goes, but how do you top that with having Shelby on here?
'Cause
of what
Mr.
you-
Dreamy.
Mr. Dreamy.
Oh, that's right. Mr.
Mr.
Dreamy.
Dreamy.
I know. You should probably go by MrDreamy.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Shelby to show up for the next one in his cowboy hat and he'll be out fencing all day and
Chewing
look
a
all
piece of
grimy.
wheat.
Yep. He's going to walk in here and be like, hey, Shelby, how you going? He's like, let's fence that shit.
Yeah. His wife, he said that his wife, like, I can't remember. It was funny. You told me, what, Shelby, what did your wife say when she saw your thumbnail? She was like, whatever, or something.
No, she did. Oh, it was the one. Yeah, the last one we did.
Yeah,
She's
where's
like,
Mr.
yeah, she-
Dreamy.
she posts on it. She's like, whatever.
So funny.
Yeah.
That was great. That was a last minute thumbnail.
So you can imagine Shelby goes home at night after the podcast and he's like, hey,
hey, you know,
I'm
they call
Mr.
me.
call me Mr. Dreamy.
She's like, yeah, okay,
Oh,
Mr.
he's
Dreamy. Mr. Dreamy, there's some trash for you to take out.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Shelby's great to have on here too. We need to have Cody back on too.
Yeah, for sure.
So
For
so
sure.
are we gonna get Kelly to talk about growing up in rural Montana before we close this stuff out?
How rural was it though? You
Yeah,
made
we're
a
at Montana.
Well,
Like-
at the time when I was in school, there was like 300 people
In the town.
in the town, and we had 60 in high school. Now it takes 4 towns to make a basketball team. So,
Where at? Where at?
Denton, Montana.
Denton, Montana. I don't even know if I even know of a Denton.
pretty much right in the middle of Montana. If you take an X in Montana, that's where we're at.
Do you know where Stanford is?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like 20 miles away
Okay.
down the creek.
Down the creek. She's gonna look it up because she doesn't know. So,
Look, I've heard of Stanford. I don't know where it's
Northwest
at.
of
I've heard the
Lewistown.
town.
yeah.
It's so funny. We have the jankiest live stream tonight. We're going to that black table.
Yep. Denton, Montana. And it's actually one of the places where I wouldn't mind retiring and living out there.
Yeah.
Now I don't know. Because sounds like we might be getting a boat someday too.
Whoa. Oh
See, I'm
yeah.
telling you, one time watching the same
So,
video.
We're gonna have a
It's easy to get hooked.
we're gonna have a podcast when we do our podcast, and you're gonna think I'm here in studio,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna show up and we're gonna be at an atoll right next to you.
Right. Just sitting there floating
Oh, so it's
gently.
not too far from Lewistown out that way.
No,
Moore. I used to live in Moore when I was a kid.
really?
Yeah,
Not too far away.
little,
Like how little?
kindergarten, first grade.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I moved to Columbus, but yeah.
Yeah, because you grew up, graduated.
Shelby says, big town of
Yep.
Denton.
Shelby knows. Denton, Montana.
Shelby says she was not impressed. Ha ha.
Well, she should have been Shelby.
Come on. We were impressed, my man.
I
We
know.
were impressed.
We were holding
Great.
that big, thick bone of walrus.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they co-op now with
Yeah,
A
Stanford, Geyser, Geraldine, Denton. Yeah, there was like
They all-
4 towns to make a
Basketball team.
make a basketball team and a 6-man football team.
yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
A 6-man football team.
I didn't know there was a thing.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, when I was in school, we were playing 8-man
But it's just gotten
for
so
a single
small out
town,
there.
and Stanford had an 8-man team. We didn't have an 8-man team. Shoot, we both went pretty deep in the playoffs when I was like a junior, and shoot, now it takes Stanford. And at the same time, Geraldine was playing 6-man and playing for championships.
Why has it
and
gotten so small out there?
just the not as many people? It doesn't take as many people to farm. So like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Makes
it
sense.
used to be like, shoot, it'd take 2 or 3 family, or one family will do like one section. Now like one person does like 6 or 7 sections or more.
Wow.
Yeah, because
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
Bigger equipment.
Yeah.
Well, you're pretty much running Sidwell's, aren't you?
No, I just help
No.
them out.
Yeah, but you're the only employee.
Yeah.
how many? So for
So, yeah.
6-man football, how many cheerleaders are there? For 6-man?
Sometimes the cheerleaders would outnumber the players.
Yeah, I bet. Right?
Depends on the year. Because
Yeah. Right.
we had a big boy class, so we had like 10 boys and 6 girls. But then the next class they might have 10 girls and 4
Everybody
boys,
just had to be
so-
patient at prom, right? Like she'll get to you. She's got to dance with this guy first, and she's got to dance
Well,
with this guy.
It's no different than here. So like Rapplejay last year, their senior class were 6 boys.
Wow.
This year their senior class is 2 girls.
No way.
Robin J used to have more
Wait,
people than that.
So there's
Yeah.
no boys this year?
There's no boys
There's just 2
graduating.
girls.
So there's a total of 3 seniors in Reed Point and Rapplejay, and they're all girls this year.
Wow. So like
Yeah.
one of them is student body president and one is
One's valedictorian and one's salutatorian.
I mean, that's how you get into a good school. You know?
Yeah. right?
You go do that and you become student body president because there was 3 of you.
Yeah.
And then there's colleges out there. If you have that in
Yeah.
your
Student body
record,
president.
like you get a full ride at a lot of colleges.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But I think when we were in high school, like Rapplejay had 8 to 12 seniors every year.
Yeah.
And there were
least.
quite a few Columbus kids that went out to Rapplejay to go to school.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
Like I had 2 or 3 really, really good friends that went out to school that were in the Columbus school district and ended up going to Rapple
Huh.
for a whole bunch of different reasons. But
And
Crazy.
people from Rapple would
Yeah.
come to Columbus
Mhm.
and
yeah,
yeah.
I actually think so. If they were only doing in-district kids, there'd be 1 senior in Rapple this year
Wow.
because the other girl is actually a Columbus district. So
Well, double the
wild.
population.
Yeah, right.
right, but
It's wild.
yeah.
It is.
Well, and I remember when Absorki was 11-man football
Mhm.
when we were in school, and now they're 6-man.
Absorki has went way down
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, they were 8 man.
Attendance.
They were 8 man when I.
They were 8-man when you went, then they went up to 11-man, they went to 8-man, and now they're 6.
Yeah, they've dropped. It's crazy at how much Absorki has went down. And
Yep.
Seth says he's up in northern Montana, but have a little business down by us.
But has a
every
business down there every week.
week. Mm.
Where at, Seth?
what type of business?
Up north there.
Is he a Haver guy? Is he still? Yeah. Are you Haver, Seth?
I don't know.
You should know he was a
So-
regular on your pod or on your lives.
On the lot. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
there was a lot of regulars. I didn't know where they all lived.
we didn't know their locations on all of them.
Yeah, they weren't sharing their location.
No.
Yeah. We had a guy from Brazil though, and he
Really?
checked into one of
Yeah.
these podcasts.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me that. We
Yeah.
were on a live and he's from Brazil. Why hasn't he
It took
been
me
back?
a minute to like yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Bom dia is what was good morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was good morning in Crow?
I don't know, but I just got that episode done and I went to that part right there.
Yeah.
I actually faded the music down right at the intro because you say that and I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure we could hear it. So it's
Seth-
right at the
Seth's-
beginning.
Seth's from Great Falls.
Oh, Great Falls.
So
We were impressed with Great Falls.
Yes.
are you really?
Yeah.
Dude,
I never
as a-
thought their downtown
Maelstrom-
and their pass are
As an
so
Air
cool.
As an Air Force vet, I'm like Great Falls is a shithole.
Ah.
We loved it.
Well, we went there for like literally one day.
Yeah.
Right. And then we just
Yeah.
went and found all the history down along by the river and the path system that they put in there. And we went exploring all that all day.
It
And like
was so fun.
I was on a one wheel, she was on her scooter. We're just cruising all over town. Like we did like 16 miles or something
Yeah.
that day.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were like, no,
Probably not in January.
No.
it was can't remember what time of year it was. It was kind of like late summer, I think.
Yeah, it was late summer because I was in
Late
tank top,
summer.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we were up there because we went up there for an arm wrestling
Yeah,
competition
for Chuck.
for
He's,
Chuck.
he's up there this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, so we went and
up
just
there,
cruised
spent
around
the
and like
night.
looked at all the restaurants we wanted to come back and eat at. And
Yeah, the
I don't know.
downtown place has like really gotten kind of cool down.
They have so
They do have
Shasta
some
and I
good
like to go up there and go to the Newberry for concerts
Oh, okay.
in Great Falls. They have a really great concert venue. But yeah, so for me, I associate Great Falls as an Air Force town.
yeah, right.
And being in the Air Force, I've been to a lot of Air Force
They got a
towns.
cool park.
Being
and
from
a cool
Denton, that
trails.
was the closest big city.
Great Falls.
Yeah, it was 80 miles from
I know.
Denton.
Huh. Well, just
So
and then
that's where we went.
and then now, I'm in this phase of my life where I'm like going extra hard at history stuff.
Mhm.
So all the Lewis and Clark stuff, all that was just super interesting. And I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, it is now.
And now I want to just go back to Fort Benton. And I've been wanting to go
Oh,
there and just
that is
spend a
cool
weekend.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really want to go there.
Grand. Go see Shep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just didn't even know that place was. I mean, I've
Existed.
heard
Not really
it. I've
existed,
heard it
but-
in so many books. I've heard it in books. I've heard it in movies. And then I don't know what it was. It was like literally like a year ago. It clicked for me. I'm like, wait a minute. That's Fort Benton that I've heard about my whole life. And, reading
Everything.
Western novels. And
It is a very cool little community.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
like.
You need to float the Missouri starting at Fort Benton and go down to the Fred Robinson Bridge.
Have
That
you
is a
That would be
cool-
awesome.
have you ever floated the Missouri?
I've not.
So we did that twice when I was growing up. My grandparents, my aunt and uncle, and my parents, and we floated the Missouri we got out at Fred Robinson. I'm trying to remember
So
where we
you
started.
either get in on the PN Bridge or you start at Fort Benton. Depends on which one you
It
do.
was 55 mile float.
It's probably if you got on a PN Bridge north of Winifred.
Okay.
and went. If you go to the Fred Robinson, that's a good little 2 or 3 day.
Yeah, it took us
trip.
like 4 or 5 days total.
I've never
you go-
floated it.
If you
Fished
do it on a canoe trip from Fort Benton, you can go all the way from Fort Benton to Fred Robinson, but it's like 180 miles.
Yeah, ours was usually 5 days, I think, is what
That'd
it
be
was.
so fun to
Because I did it
throw
in
a
two.
tent
We did it in
backpack.
2 trips because we did it. With the Boy Scouts, I did it from Fort Benton to the PN Bridge,
Mhm.
and then I did it with the family from PN to Fred Robinson.
Yeah, but dude, it was
Fun.
even
That'd be a
then.
lot of fun.
That would
Even
be
as
so
a
much
little
fun.
kid, it was fun, and we did a hike a couple of different times and found some Indian burial grounds and some petroglyphs and stuff like that
That'd be so cool.
when we were little. But dude, it was a blast. Loma Landing to Fred
Mhm.
Robinson.
Okay.
So
I was little when you were able to. I don't know
That's
if you
just
can still
below
now.
Fort
Is catch
Benton.
Is it?
sturgeon off of the Missouri River. Little
Mhm.
the greens. When I was little, you could catch them. The back then, I don't know if you can still now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are those? Shoot, those big ones. Those,
Paddlefish?
Paddlefish.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I never caught one of those.
yeah, dude, the Missouri. Before you guys go on your world adventure, floating the Missouri would be a good trip.
That would be fun. That would be fun. I would like that.
I'd like to do it again. I'd like to take our kids. But yeah, I remember we got a canoe. We had so my grandpa was a professor at MSUB, and their rec department would rent canoes. And so we'd rent canoes because he was a professor. We'd rent the canoes, we'd go up and float the Missouri and
Wow.
Oh, so
Camp.
you weren't doing big rafts. You were just doing canoes.
No,
canoes.
we did it in canoes too. And
Yeah,
I don't know
canoes.
where we got them from, but we did them in canoes.
Huh.
yeah.
So you just pack all your stuff and just camp along the way?
So it was I remember like they were the old canvas tents with the you had the like conduit poles. So they're like tents from the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That my grandparents had acquired over the years. But yeah, dude, floating, it's one of my memories that I'll never forget. And like we were super excited to go over the rapids, and the rapids on the Missouri River are pretty little.
They're
Really?
like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
we'd go, my mom said we'd go from Loma to Judith Landing.
Okay. Judith Landing is PN Bridge.
Loma to Judith Landing. So dude, yeah, it's fun. I think you guys should do it. You'd love it because of the
Oh
history.
yeah, I totally would.
So
100%.
maybe if you guys are still
I
around.
wonder how far people go up the Missouri with sailboats. Go up. I would imagine they do.
I think I'm not sure. you know.
I'm not picturing up in Montana, but
Yeah.
there's a thing I didn't even realize that's called the Great Loop. Have you ever heard of the Great Loop?
It's the intercoastal.
So people will they'll do it either with sailboats
Waterway.
or they'll do it with a motorboat, and they live on their boat and start anywhere. But the Great Loop is, let's say you start in Florida, you go up the East Coast, and then you go up the Chesapeake Bay, I believe, and on up the Hudson. And then anyway, somehow, however you get over into the Great Lakes.
So you'd probably go hit the Ohio and
So-
up.
No,
No?
you got to go with the Hudson into the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then-
Hudson into the Great Lakes, and then from the Great Lakes, then they jump,
Bunch
then they
of
drop
different
into the
little-
Right,
Mississippi.
not too far.
Right,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
drop into the Mississippi. There's a series of locks you'll hit every now and then, but then they will float down the Mississippi down to the Gulf of America and back around Florida.
Yeah. Really?
And
Yeah,
it's called the Great American.
Intercoastal Waterway.
Well, there's a waterway of like right along the coast. There's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like they're really islands, but it's this waterway that comes up the East Coast
Mhm.
that you can go out on the ocean side, but there's an inner waterway that you can come up, and there's a series of locks and different things until you get up to the Chesapeake
What
Bay.
is the mast height though?
It's like 67
67.
feet or
So your mast
something.
height has to be under like
Below.
that.
A lot of them are like 65 feet. So a lot of times if you're shopping boats, people will say whether their mast is
Oh, so
ICW.
Chris Mater says St. Lawrence Seaway. And I'm
Mhm.
assuming St. Lawrence Seaway into the Great Lakes to Mississippi,
Yeah.
Mississippi down.
and there's
to the Gulf.
there's little different things
He's
you
on
can
it.
take to get around and different little.
So-
That'd be sweet.
Yeah. And then when you come down like the Mississippi, then there's like marinas, like people stop off,
Yep.
like they'll stop here and they'll kind of go up because there's other tributaries that come in.
Yep.
They'll go up those a little ways. They'll stop at a marina and dock and stay there for a while,
Yeah.
and then when they're ready to, they go on down. And like,
Yeah.
there's people that have, they brag about how many times they've done the loop, so they'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, we've done the loop 7 times, 8 times. And
It's like how we brag about how many times we go to Yellowstone or
Yeah,
drive
basically.
drive
Yeah.
the Beartooth Highway.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting though, that there's
Yeah.
people that live doing that loop?
That's awesome.
I always thought that would be cool to do too on all
I
the
never-
other stuff we want to do, but
I've
yeah.
never even heard of that until
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
So that could be your guys' first adventure into
That's what I was talking to Zach and Allie about, actually.
Yeah.
Was like, hey, like
You guys could totally
anyway,
Do
there's
you,
so many options.
do you
Well,
think
you
Zach and Allie will bounce on a boat before you guys? Or are they gonna wait?
They'll wait. They'll do it when we do it.
Yeah.
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 But you guys are looking at
I mean, they were looking at like, hey, maybe we should just get a camper and go find good work someplace where we can just like, we can be mobile and just live in a camper for a while and just go chase those good jobs. And I was like, well, you could kind of do the same thing doing boat life. And I know how much you guys like to fish. So
Yeah. But you
like-
guys are probably going to buy a boat out of San Diego and go from there.
no. I mean, if we had our choice, we'd probably be over there off of Florida in the Caribbean. But we're going to go where we find a good boat. So we don't have anything set like, oh, we're just going to look in this area.
Yeah.
And we have not even talked about any of this public with anybody.
Oh, sorry.
No, totally fine. It's fine. It's just like, no, I never said, oh, we don't talk about this. I mean, it just feels
Hey,
like,
JT's in the house.
oh, right on, JT. So, yeah, we just, oh, there he is. I see him now. Right on. What up? But yeah, we're just gonna, like I say, it just feels far away still. So we just haven't thrown it out there a bunch.
I don't think it's as far away as you think it is.
Maybe not. Hope.
And this is coming from his wife, Crystal. I'm manifesting. It's not as far away as you think it is.
All right. We'll take it.
So, hey, thank you, Shelby. Appreciate it, buddy.
Hey, Shelby. Look at that pair.
Oh, Shelby, you're too nice. That's nice.
My man. Thank you for supporting the Big Fat Podcast.
Yeah. I'm learning that too from JT. Manifesting stuff that you want to happen is a big thing. He's so JT's been sending me stuff every day for about the past 6 months about positive affirmation and manifesting what you want to take place. And for me, for some reason, it's super hard for me to do that. And I don't know if it's because I deal with all the crap that I deal with in my job, or if I've just been around the negative for so long. But
I think it's hard for anybody.
it's hard for me to manifest the positive, but I'm working on it. I am working.
It's hard. I think it's hard.
So I'm going to be back in just a minute, guys.
Chris is being very cheeky here. I've got a Jeep Cherokee and a tube of caulk I'll sell you real cheap. Ha! Here, I got something for you, my guy.
Funny.
Funny guy.
I forget that I have all these other little fun things there, but yeah.
Oh,
So evidently you got to be over this way a little bit. It was a little bit off.
We we were happy you were on camera at all. I wasn't gonna pressure you. I was like, hey,
stage fright.
right on. That's why we say what we are grateful for each day. You know what? It's actually a really good practice. Years ago, my sister sent me a gratitude journal out of nowhere. And I did it for a little while. And I did notice a difference. I'm not good at keeping up on anything for some reason, like staying on something. I'm like, gosh, I have a hard time when I start something to stick with it. But I do realize the value of it, and I do bring it up.
I've been wanting to do one of those boards. They say it's kind of like a
Manifestation board.
Yeah, but it's not called that. What's those boards? They call them. So you cut out pictures and cut out things of like what you want and your goals and stuff. I cannot remember what those boards are called. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Cole?
I know what it is.
What are those
Yeah,
boards? They're like a
what it's
dream
called.
board. or
Vision
something.
board.
Vision board.
That's it. There it is. I've been wanting to do one of those.
I mean, not to be negative or go the other way, but I did read a good book by Patrick Bet-David called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And
Oh my God.
And I got to tell you, it's such a good book. I've read it twice or listened to it twice. And he's it's so right. He just is like, you know what? People that are like, oh, they want to picture this or they want to picture this or their vision of success is this or this. He's like, I think about that teacher in middle school who said that you weren't going to amount to anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's your fuel. And he's like, or picture this, like he's like, you choose these enemies and these aren't people that you hate. This isn't something that you carry with you forever, but it's something that drives you. He's like, it drives you more. It affects you emotionally more when you think about somebody who said something to you that had some bite because it was partly true and it was true. And that's also kind of why it hurt. Like, it was true. That's your fuel and go to the next level. And he's like, I've done that through my whole life and it's driven me to the next level, then the next level. He says, you don't keep the same enemies though, because you won't progress. You have to find new enemies. You have to find, that guy who says in business that, you'll never amount to anything or this or that. And he says, let that be your fuel but let those things go. When you get to the next level and that guy's not even on your level anymore, let that go. Like that's not your enemy.
So he's kind of like the David Goggins mindset. Like, you don't know me.
Yeah.
You don't know me.
Yeah. Taking souls, David got, but
so using something that somebody has put out there negativity towards you and using that as fuel to achieve that and overcome that. And then you look for the next one.
And you let that go. He's like, do not hold on. These are not things you hold on and internalize forever. Mm-hmm. It's you use it for fuel, for what it's worth, better yourself use that to better yourself.
There'll always be more people, that obviously.
He tells a story in there that there was a guy in business that was at a higher level than he was, but the guy was kind of a bigwig in the industry or something, and how he drove all night from California. This guy was holding a conference in Vegas, and he went and he said something really snarky to the guy up on stage. And then the guy did know him by name and called him out and just said, Patrick Bet David, you are a hack. You are all this. And he said, it got wild in there. He said, security started to move in. They thought, oh, this is what's going on here. And he says, the guy just reamed me out and said all these just mean things to me. And he says, I looked at him and he's waiting for my response. And I just said to him, thank you. And he says, I turned around and I walked out and I drove back to LA and everything he said, I ran it through my mind. And you know what? He says, I took that was my fuel. And he was right. I was a hack at that time. There was a lot of things that He's like, now what I've gone and achieved with my businesses, he's nowhere near that level.
Right.
That was such fuel for me. I needed to hear that. And he's like, he goes, he didn't know that, but I had gotten to a place where I had to let go of old enemies and I went and I had to go get a new enemy. And he says, and I used him for fuel. And anyway, so it's just kind of interesting how he
could take something that's negative and turn it
into a positive, but also don't hold on to it.
Yeah, don't let it eat you up.
Don't let it eat you up. And he's like, I got nothing against that guy. He's like, but in like what my goals were, where I'm at now, it's at I'm at a completely different level now, and that's fine where he's at. This is where I needed to get to, and so. Anyway, kind of interesting. But he's like, but then I got nothing against that guy. And he's like, and it's not that he hated the guy. The guy said things that he knew was true.
Right.
And so he's like, those are the best ones. The ones where it's like, it's kind of true,
Sometimes you got to hear it.
Yeah. Sometimes
that's the thing is hearing it. And sparks it.
Yeah. So interesting.
I guess. For me, that would be easier.
Those are powerful emotions to harness.
Yeah, those are easier for me to harness and now that JT's in the chat, that's way easier for me to harness than it is the positive manifestation. For some reason, like if I have a goal, and it's the same with like at the gym, like. When I saw Kelly's time from Tuesday's workout on the gym, he did the same weight as me, but he beat me by 2.5 minutes. I haven't worked out for a month because I've been sick, but I was like, maybe I should do that again and see if I can get closer to his time. There's things that I'll never beat him at the gym, and I understand that, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's the same for him. He sees that on the board and he's like, I'm going to try to beat Cole.
And that
because
drives
him and I lift
Yeah.
heavy weights compared to most of the people in the gym. So I use him as my
Yeah.
guide, my competition. But for me to be like, not like using that as like my enemy, like I got to beat him compared to like, I feel like I can lift more than him. So I'm going to do it today.
Right.
I can't, the positive manifestation part is very hard for me.
Yeah. Well,
Compared to making it like my enemy.
and in my
beating that.
short telling of this, he's basically saying that it's just a term. He's not saying like, okay, like for me, like it could be a family member, like it's somebody I love, who's in my family. I would do anything for them, but there's something maybe they said that I'm like, gosh, I like that's my fuel. It's that I don't have anything against them.
Yeah, personally, it's just that comment or
that
something
comment.
that hit.
Yeah, but those things and that's anyway, it's a good book. It's called Choose Your Enemies Wisely, Business Strategy for the Audacious Few.
Are they sponsoring the podcast?
Someday
that would be pretty awesome.
I'm manifesting in my mind my enemies.
Right.
We're gonna get to that level
So-
that Patrick Bet David is.
Yeah, you
sponsoring
were
us.
gonna send me that book at one point.
Did it? Was I?
Yes,
I'm the master of non-follow through.
I know. And like we had a podcast with a podcast we did last night, April. He's like, "Did we plan this?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I sent it to you a month ago."
He's like, I don't have any remember. I was like, I don't remember you telling me anything about it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
It's been wild, but yeah.
That's why we're so good.
I wish you need to be on an iPhone, man. I have I have a big fat podcast calendar. And I try to share it with people and it doesn't always show up for them. Because I do put these on the calendar.
I'm never going to iPhone. I'm going to be Android till I
She
die.
said that too. She said the same thing.
Yeah, well, he's not marrying you.
Yeah, exactly. I just got the iPhone S25, so
The
I'm not
Android?
going to the iPhone 16.
Is that a Samsung or?
Yes, Samsung.
Okay.
It's now Android. So yeah, we're gonna have to make it work.
All right. Well, I guess we'll
So-
try.
So
We'll try.
when the day
Google
comes
calendar.
when the day comes that you're in Portugal and we got to schedule something,
Guess
We're gonna be
you'll-
WhatsApp.
you will be.
Yeah,
You'll be-
'cause
we'll have
that's
to
what-
use-
we'll have to use WhatsApp
We'll have to
because
use
that's all.
WhatsApp.
Ah, man.
WhatsApp.
We'll figure it out.
First world
Yeah.
problems. I can't wait to
Right.
have that problem.
You know.
Yep.
Be like, hey guys.
Shelby says
I
always,
know, we'll be
always
like,
need people
"Hey,
around you that will
we're at
push you
this
as
port."
well.
That's right.
That is it is. That's one of those good things about guys at the gym. And so, like I say, take that term enemies and it's just just a
It's not
term.
an enemy.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. a
The
real-
person itself is not the enemy.
No,
No,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
the
meant in
words.
the, like I say, in like a hateful or anger type.
Kind of like my cardio today was the enemy.
But it's true, isn't it though? It's those emotions. It's that little something that somebody said or whatever
Yeah.
that stings that you're like,
Oh yeah.
gosh, they're right, and you're like, man, I could do better at this.
Yeah.
Those emotions really drive.
Kind of like when you're arguing with your wife and you know she's right. You're like, oh, she's right.
yeah.
How do I change this to make it look like I don't know that she knows that she was right?
Oh my gosh, whatever.
Dude, I'm like that all the time. I'm like, I don't know. We were talking about something today. And I made a comment. And then like after I made the comment, I'm like, shit, you're right, babe. You're right. I'm like, but I'm not going to let you know you're right.
So Shasta, now you know you're right.
She was right. But well,
Well,
hey, this has been fun.
it has been. I was gonna wrap it up.
That's why we're so good.
I know.
That's
I
why
was-
we make millions doing this. Thousands.
Right.
Thousands, not
Yes.
millions yet.
Yeah, man. No, it has been
So-
fun. So
And we're planning on being back tomorrow about the same time.
yeah,
And it will be interesting
we're
because we're
shooting
gonna
for 5, right?
Was it 5 or 6?
5.
5.
Thanks, April. I wrote 6 in my phone.
5.
5.
5
You probably
o'clock.
got thrown off because I threw on.
It's going to be a little bit after 5 because I have to do something at the sheriff's office right at 5.
Oh, you better let her know.
So I will let Devin know tomorrow that it'll be a little bit later.
Yeah, tomorrow will be interesting.
It will be.
It's going to be a good
So,
one.
I'm excited for it because we're all about looking at different viewpoints
Yeah, I'm down.
and trying
with
to understand it.
it. Yeah, Kelly's looking
So-
forward to it. He's like, I'm down.
Yeah.
He's in.
Yeah, everybody that doesn't know, Kelly was here the whole time.
Kelly, Kelly, thank you for being our secret silent guest and hand model.
I did.
April's hand representation.
April's gotta talk.
The hands. Look at the hand model. You gotta switch it. There you go.
We're gonna have 3 days in a row tomorrow.
I had quite a few comments.
So
Trip that YouTube algorithm.
I know,
100%.
so we can make our bunnies. But
All right, everybody out there.
that's right. If you enjoy it, hit that like button, hit that follow button.
Subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah, leave a comment. We like hearing from you guys.
Yeah. And it's a bummer that all the comments during the live stream don't stick around in the replay. So,
But
so if you have a ton of time, reenact all your comments in the live stream.
yeah, and we'll see you tomorrow. That's
All
kind of
right,
cool
everybody.
to say.
That is.
All right.
All right. Hey,
Later.
we'll see you guys.